body to make sure that the animal, it's not a vegetable or a mineral, the animal wasn't alive and it was not alive.
That's the voice of 73-year-old George Kelly, the same day he allegedly shot and killed a Mexican citizen on his property. I'm Michelle Yu, giving you a closer look at a brand new trial we're covering out of Santa Cruz County, Arizona. The case begins on January 30th, 2023. Gabriel Cuen-Buitimea was walking through Kelly's 170-acre cattle ranch alongside a group of migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexican border. Now, according to the police, the men were unarmed when Kelly discharged what he calls a warning shot from 100 yards away. That gunshot, fired from an AK-47, killed Cuen-Buitimea, and the remaining men returned back to the Mexican side of the border unharmed. Now, dispatchers contacted the defendant on the day of the shooting after he called the border control agent and said he was being shot at. So let's hear more of that phone call.
Go ahead, you can talk to me. What's going on?
Yeah, I know I can talk to you, but you're responsible for what I say, and I'm responsible for what I say.
Can you give me a little context of what happened? What's going on? You told them that you shot at something. What did you shoot at?
I didn't shoot at any. I haven't said I shot at anything.
Do you know whoever it is that you saw?
No, I do not know. I didn't say it was anybody. I just said it was a body.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
I'm not trying to be smart, ma'am. I'm just trying to.
You're trying to be careful, and I get that. However, I hope you understand that on my end, I have to take care of my deputies too. So I needed a little bit more context as to why you needed a deputy to head out there.
Yeah, now you know that there is a body here.
Okay. All right. Does it look somewhat?
And it's not alive. So you asked if you need EMT. I said no. Okay. I'm sure a coroner will be involved sooner or later.
I understand. George, can you tell me something? Is it discolored from somewhere?
Is it discolored?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Has it been there for a while? Can you tell?
From what? In that I only approached the body to make sure that the animal, it's not a vegetable or a mineral, the animal wasn't alive and it was not alive.
Okay.
There were no signs. There was no signs of blood. There was just an animal laying face down.
Kelly's defense team argues the 73-year-old feared for the safety of his wife and himself when he fired a warning shot above the group of migrants. But prosecutors believe Kelly was reckless when firing a gunshot at the unarmed men, leading to Cuen-Buitimea's death. During a pretrial hearing last year, one detective discussed Kelly's inconsistent accounts of what happened.
And can you tell us what Agent Morcell told you was the first thing that happened related to this incident?
Agent Morcell informed me that he received a call from Mr. Kelly and frantically telling him that he was being shot at.
And did he say anything else with respect to shooting?
He said that he was being shot at and he shooting back, and the call ended.
I didn't catch the second part of what you said.
He said that he was being shot at, and then Mr. Kelly was shooting back at these people, and the call ended.
So he claimed he was being shot at and that he was returning fire?
Yes.
And then what did he say he was doing at that point?
That he was, after that he made contact with Mr. Kelly again later on, that he went after the men on his property done on a wash on his property.
Okay. And what time, you said he talked to him again, was that a second conversation?
Yes.
And what time was the first conversation?
It was like around 2:30.
And what time was the second conversation?
Like around 2:36.
And so during the second conversation, what is it that he told him on this occasion?
He said that he had lost visual of the subjects that were running probably south from his property towards the Buena Vista Ranch area.
And did the agent ask him at that time if he was being shot at?
Yes.
And how did he respond?
He said that he wasn't sure he was being shot at.
What did he say he heard?
He said that he heard what he believed to be shots and he was being shot at, but then he changed his conversation. He didn't know exactly who he was being shot at.
Did he say that he heard a gunshot in his direction?
Yes.
What did he say with respect to whether the individuals were armed during this conversation?
Agent Marcel told me that Mr. Kelly told him that he probably saw 5 men wearing all camel clothing with backpacks and they were armed.
Was that during this conversation or a different conversation?
That was during the first initial conversation, too.
Okay. And then during the second conversation, what did he say with respect to whether he could tell whether there were firearms?
Mr. Kelly informed Agent Marcel that he wasn't sure because they were too far away to determine if they're actually armed or not.
So the first time he says they're armed, the second time he says they're too far away to tell.
That's correct, ma'am.
And when Mr. Kelly called on this during this third conversation, what were his spirits and what did he call about?
Said Agent Marcel informed me that Mr. Kelly called him just to thank him for a quick response, not only the Border Patrol, but the Sheriff's Office response.
And during this conversation, what did he tell Agent Kelly with respect to where he and his wife were when this incident started?
They were in their kitchen, in their home.
And what did he say he heard at that point?
That he had heard a shot.
And what did he say he did when he heard the shot?
He actually told his wife to be quiet while he heard the shot.
Was that from a different interview, or is that from what Agent Kelly told you?
That's from it's Agent Marcel.
Or Agent Marcel, I'm sorry.
It's from what he told me.
Okay. And then when he told her to be quiet, what did he do?
He went outside.
And what did he observe outside?
That's when he said he observed those approximately 5 men carrying backpacks and with what he believed to be rifles.
At this point, did he give a different description of how many males? Do you remember?
Yes, he said now he was seeing at least 10 to 15.
And did he say whether those 10 to 15 individuals had weapons or not?
Jury selection began Thursday in George Kelly's case as he faces charges of second-degree murder and aggravated assault. If convicted, he could spend over 2 decades in prison, which could very well be the rest of his life. And there is a lot to unpack here, so let's bring in former federal prosecutor Rena Paul to break this down. Let's start out with that 911 call from the dispatcher. There were some bizarre and at times shocking statements from the defendant. What do you think, Rena?
Well, this is a self-defense case, and so the statements of the defendant are going to be critical, and it begins from the beginning. So that now there's recorded statements, and we're analyzing them to try to understand what his state of mind was at the time. And obviously it's inconsistent. That was clearly pointed out at the hearing, that it is inconsistent. And that's what the jury is going to be deciding and looking at.
Now, according to the detective in that pretrial hearing, it appears Kelly had several inconsistencies in his story, including if the trespassers were armed, if Kelly was being shot at, and the number of men on his property. How does this evidence look for his case as the trial approaches?
We're looking at a reasonable person and considering whether or not a reasonable person in his situation would believe that it was necessary to use physical force or deadly physical force in this case in response to what he was seeing. So, of course, we can all relate to the fear that may be when you see somebody coming to your property, multiple people coming to your property, if you believe that they are armed. We're also talking about an AK-47 as a response. And we're talking about the distance, where they are thinking about what he could have reasonably believed to be happening when he saw those men coming onto the property.
Now, the defense strategy here is obviously self-defense. Based on Arizona's rules on citizen use of force, how could it potentially work in Kelly's favor or maybe against him?
Well, I heard 2 defenses that were percolating. The first was that one, and the second was that these were warning shots that were fired. And those, to me, are inconsistent defenses. So either it was self-defense and he fired a shot because he believed he was in imminent danger, or he was firing shots that were not meant to do that level of harm, which is a bit of a harder sell. Either way, I think that we're still looking at the same evidence that I just referred to. We're looking at his state of mind and the circumstantial evidence that's going to be presented at trial about his state of mind.
Marina, thank you so much for weighing in. And as jury selection continues in this fascinating case, we'll keep you updated on the latest news out of that courtroom in Santa Cruz County, Arizona, from gavel to gavel. You're watching Law and Crime.